Have you ever played a game that felt like it was intended for someone else? An enticing one, sure, but one that you struggled to identify with? Well, that was my experience with Gris. Now, we've had a lot of new faces join the community since the last video in this series, so I want to explain why I'm doing these videos again. I want to make games, sure. In fact, I've already made one, and you can check it out on Steam now if you want to, links in the description. But I want to make more, and I want to do it the right way, which means research. So I'm playing as many great games as I can while I develop my next game, and you might even be able to guess what type of game it's going to be based on what I've been playing here on this channel. So if you're interested in that journey, hit that subscribe button, and I look forward to seeing you along the way. But anyways, back to Gris. I know in the last video I said I wanted to play Dead Cells, but honestly, I needed a break. Hollow Knight was pretty sweaty, and I needed something that I could relax and really get absorbed in, more on the casual side than on the intense gameplay and lore side. So when I was doing some research for high quality Metroidvanias and platformers on the Switch, I saw Gris, and I immediately fell in love with the art style, as I'm sure many of you had, and I went and purchased it right away. But when I started playing, something felt immediately different. This is not what I expected, and that made me happy. See, when I'm looking to purchase games, I'm tending to look for an emotion or a feeling or something unexpected, but what I tend to do is look in all the familiar places. And Gris caught me off guard. Once I launched it up, I was hit with the opening cutscene, and then I was just dropped into the world without really given any more information. The game asks you to just figure it out. So I started walking. And I did this for a little while, and to the point that I got confused. I thought I was doing something wrong. But then I just kept going, and eventually the music and the art style showed me that I was doing the right thing, even though it felt futile, like I wasn't going anywhere. And this is one of the first takeaways I had from Gris, is building trust with your players early on in the game. Sometimes your players are going to need reassurance, and this can be done in a heavy-handed way through dialogue, NPCs, or some other methods. In the case of Gris, however, they went a different route. As you start going the correct way, the music changes, if ever so slightly, and the terrain starts to take form as well to indicate you're doing the right thing, keep going. For me, this immediately told me that the music is my guide here. I should trust the music to help me in this game and get me to where I need to be, and this paid off immediately. Because of those of you who have played the game know, in the first level you encounter these periodic storms, and right before they hit, the music starts to swell and warn you of an approaching hazard. So I could feel safe exploring, knowing that something was watching out for me. And this game does this in a few places, but in this first level is where I found it to be the most obvious. So my takeaway is that in some instances, a well-timed swell of the orchestra can do way more than an NPC, dialogue, or any other heavy-handed way could do. Especially like a tutorial text, that would have broken the entire vibe here. This first level also asks you to do something that is rather strange for a game right off the bat. The game asks you to trust it. You don't know if there's going to be shelter in time to shelter you from the storm. You just kind of have to trust that it's there, and I had a hard time at this first encounter with it because I didn't know where to go. I didn't know if these storms were regular, if they were random, or how they would affect me. So I just kind of had to trust and start going. And every single time I did, there was shelter just in time. So I think it's important as a game developer and even as players to watch out for these signs and see how games are building trust for us. And this is also how we can kind of decide between what's a good game and not so great of a game, is how do they treat your trust? Do they betray your time right off the bat? Do they respect it? Do they tell you how they're going to treat it right away like Gris does? I feel like it tells you exactly what kind of game you're getting into in that first 20 minutes to half an hour of the game. You can kind of guess how the game's going to go. You don't know what it's going to be about later on, but you do know that it's going to respect your time. I mentioned in the beginning of this video that I felt like this game was for someone else. It's kind of tricky to explain, but I understand the topic material and the motivations behind different areas of the game, but I myself did not identify with it. I could relate to a few aspects of the game, but overall I felt like I was witnessing someone else's journey. Instead of being the player, I felt like the observer. I think this may have to do with how the game treats death. I do not believe I experienced a death while playing the game, nor do I recall feeling any real peril, though I do recall being concerned for our protagonist. There were several points where I thought things might not end up well for the player, or that I led her astray or down a wrong path, but it always worked out. Even during the boss fights, which I guess we can call them that, I never really felt worried that I'd have to redo it or restart the journey. It always was, I was like watching a movie, and I was concerned for the main character that something bad might happen to them, and that we may take our journey down a different route, that victory may slip further away from her. And it's a weird experience. I don't think I've really ever felt that in a video game before, especially not one that I was controlling and hitting all the buttons for to make the journey progress. I don't know if this was intentional. I don't know if there were game design choices that the developer made to try and elicit this emotion or experience, but it's a very unique one that I really appreciate. It's not what I expected. I expected to be playing a game, not participating in a journey. I know that sounds weird, like you pick up a video game and you expect to play the character, you get immersed, but I don't know that I was immersed in the same way that I would have been, say, when I'm playing like Helldivers or Celeste or Halo even. It's different. It was immersed like I was watching The Quiet Place or some other artistic movie like that, where there's high suspense. I do really appreciate it and look back at my time at this game really fondly. It's a short game, and it's a lot shorter than I expected. I really did expect to get into a long-form Metroidvania here, and even to call it a Metroidvania is kind of a weird thing to do, because the journey is rather linear, I think. Maybe there are choices that can be made for which stories you go to next, but it did feel linear, and that's fine. There definitely was movement ability gated areas, but you always got it right before you needed it. I'm not sure if I can go back and explore the other areas with my new movement abilities. I need to look into that. But at 3.5 hours, it felt really good. It felt like a game that knew exactly what it wanted to do and then got out. Sort of how like the Celeste main story was not too long, only about 7 to 8 hours. But that's all it needed, that's all it wanted. And I have a lot of respect for games that do that know what they're trying to do, they get in, they get to the point right away, there's no filler, and they get out. And that was the really cool thing with the design in this game, is that every challenge felt unique. And I never had to do the same challenge more than a couple times. Every level was very clearly a progression of a common theme, and it was really fun and exciting to try it out, learn it, and it quickly ramped to more advanced, never challenging or frustrating, but it was one that sometimes you didn't get it on the first try by the end, and then it moved on to the next thing. Like they had a bunch of ideas for levels, and they wanted them to convey something, and then move on to the next idea. And I thought that was a really cool way of designing these levels, and it was a lot of fun. Every area felt very unique, very colorful, and I really enjoyed each moment of this game. It was a short experience, but very densely packed with fun stuff. Gris has a lot to show us, both as gamers and game designers. The cohesiveness of the entire experience is truly amazing. A member of my Discord told me to take lots of screenshots because every frame is like an art piece, and they were right. The attention and care put into every single frame, every minute detail, or what seems to be an inconsequential background set piece, is fantastic. And with all that I've said about this game already, I think Gris has one overarching message that we can all kind of resonate with. The world can be dull, it can be sometimes wondrous, dark, scary, it can be unpredictable and confusing, it can be challenging, boring, but in all things, it is always beautiful. I want to thank you all for taking the time to watch this video to the end. I really do appreciate it. As a small studio, just trying to get out there and meet new members of the community, it's been a lot of fun seeing new faces and talking to new gamers and experiencing new things. So I hope you'll hit that subscribe button and hang around with us for the future videos in this series. And if you have suggestions for games that you think I should check out or would enjoy, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. I'd love to see them, and I'm always looking for new fun games to play. So again, thanks for your time. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you guys later.